And welcome. So my name is Petra Kolber. I am the guest mindset coach with YouFit Gyms as they're doing this incredible initiative called the 90-Day Fit Won't Quit Challenge. And some of you are going to be on that, and some of you are not a part of that. But wherever you are from, please, again, any questions that you have during our time together. Hey, Janie, Alabama is in the house. So good to see you. And again, anyone that's coming in, please feel free to put where you're from. Maybe I know you, maybe this is the first time we have met, but I am so excited to be a guest mindset coach with YouFit Gyms and have the privilege of this time together as we're beginning. I don't know about you, but we are seeing in the stores already the holiday decorations. Halloween is on its way, Thanksgiving, whichever holiday you celebrate, Hanukkah, Christmas. It's beginning to look a lot like that season. So as we step into that season, as we have these ideas and hopes and dreams and aspirations for not only our best self in the moment, and Coral Gables is in the house, and also being the best person that we are in the moment, but how can we grow into our potential? I like to think of it, our untapped potential. So today in this call, we're going to talk all about willpower. And I think there's a lot of misconception about willpower. It's just the little, Ken Allen's in the house. There's this little misperception of, I can do this or I can't do this. I have willpower or I don't have willpower. I have motivation or I don't have motivation. I have discipline or I don't. And it's a lot more nuanced than that. So what my goal is during our time together is to give you some tips and tools and some ideas that hopefully will give you some inspiration and additional motivation as we step into the fall and the beginning of the holiday season. So welcome. And I love this quote. It's such a powerful quote. This by Mark Twain: the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. And I don't know about you, I think our whys can change a lot. My why has changed many, many times since my younger years to where I am now, and it's constantly evolving. But when we have a purpose, a reason to get up, a reason to make choices in our life that might not always be the thing that we want in the moment, but something that will help us keep moving forward into the best human that we can be, so we can share our best selves with others. Coming back to what is important to us is going to be a really strong motivator and a little piece of this jigsaw puzzle called willpower that we're going to talk about. So there's an incredible book that you may or may not have heard of called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I think when it comes to habit forming and this idea of habits define who we are, who we're going to become, and willpower and habits are kind of intertwined a little bit. You will see quotes from James Clear woven throughout today's presentation. If you haven't read the book or listened to the book, it is one of the books I have read from beginning to end and several times over. So I love this idea. Be the designer of your world and not merely the consumer of it. Because one of the biggest challenges, where is it, to our willpower and our habits is this little device, which is absolutely incredible because it allows, some of you might be watching now on your phone, it allows us to access so much information, and it's constantly giving us a choice of whether do I go on the phone, do I go onto Instagram, do I go onto Facebook, do I check my emails, do I check my text, do I turn my alerts off, do I turn my alerts on, what do I do first thing in the morning? And all these choices actually impact this thing called willpower. Many of us are not living in the present moment. We are moving, we're being pulled into what was, how other people's lives are looking, what's going on around us. But the greatest gift we can give to ourselves and in turn to those we care about is being present. I call it the hard work of the heart work. Being present is one of the most challenging things, I think, for any of us. And it's not, I am present or I'm not present. It's at every moment throughout our day, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on together, we have the power of the pause. Between every inhale And before every exhale, we get all these do-overs. Do I take my past into my present and drag it into my future? Or can I leave that behind if it's no longer serving me? And Tara Brach is an incredible meditation teacher who I follow. And I like this idea of when we're doing this, we are often waiting for the next moment to contain what this moment does not. But it is this moment, and then this moment, and then this moment that leads to the next moment, that leads to how we create our day, and how we live our days is how we live our life. So today, as we talk about motivation and willpower and habits, it really is not necessarily mind over matter, but what is our mind chatter? And how can we make peace with what is going on? Recognize which thoughts are helping us, which thoughts are hurting us, and which thoughts are distracting us from being in this moment. So today's topic is mostly about this idea, this word called willpower. So the definition of willpower in the dictionary is the ability to control one's own actions, emotions, or urges. I wish it was that simple. But I think if we think of willpower as simply, I can stop myself from eating the cookie or whatever we consider bad food, which I'd love us to take off the table completely. If we could stop making certain actions bad and certain actions good, that also depletes our willpower. But often willpower is this idea like, I will go to the gym, I'm gonna work out, and then I'm a good person, or I won't eat that. And it's so like black or white. It's not very sexy, it's not very appealing. And so let's talk about how we can make willpower work in our favor, get a deeper understanding of it so we can stack the odds in our favor. And again, I always love a good quote. And Ayn Rand says, every man or woman is free to rise as far as he or she is able or willing. But the degree to which he or she thinks will determine the degree to which he or she will rise. So here is one thing to know. Willpower is like a well. I want you to think of willpower as a muscle. One of the greatest things that can actually influence and impact our willpower, our ability to exert our own freedom of will into a choice, these moment by moment choices, is the belief of whether we think willpower is an infinite resource or whether we believe it is something we can replenish throughout the day. So think about this for a quick moment. Do you believe, and please feel free to put it in the chat, have you been told, or do you believe that willpower is a finite resource that is going to run out, and then once it's run out, it's done? Or do you believe it's a resource that you have a little bit of influence over? There is no wrong or right answer here, but it's interesting. Let me know if you're in the chat or if you're watching on the replay. Think about that. Have you been told, or did you read somewhere, or are you under this assumption that willpower is a finite resource? Because research shows us that your belief actually impacts the outcome. What a person perceives, a person believes. What a person believes dictates their focus, and where their focus goes, their life flows. So if you have read somewhere, or you are someone that believes, and there's nothing wrong in it, that willpower, either I have it or I don't. That's a more accurate definition. I have willpower or I don't have willpower. If you believe, like, I grew up and, I never really had willpower and there's nothing much I can do about it. Growth versus fixed mindset. Maybe you are familiar with the work of Carol Dweck. She wrote a great book called Mindset. And there's this idea of growth versus fixed. Kathy says, I think it's infinite, but it's hard to summon it sometimes. Oh yes, Kathy, that is brilliant. Kathy, again, I think it's infinite, but it's hard to summon it sometimes. Absolutely. We're going to talk in a moment about ways to kind of like harness it and save it for when we really need it. So that's so true. And to go back to this idea of Carol Dweck, fixed versus growth mindset. So a fixed mindset would think that you know, I grew up, I was always told, perhaps you were told, you don't have any willpower. So I take on that belief as true and I never question it. Growth mindset, if someone told me, they may or may have not in my past, Petra, you don't have any willpower, you're not motivated, you're just not good enough. My growth mindset will go, well, that's their opinion of me. I wonder what would happen if I believed or if I tried to harness more willpower. And so our perception of willpower before we do anything about it is already kind of helping us have, for lack of a better term, have more willpower or have less. So what I'd love you to do for our time today is actually think of willpower like a muscle. The more you use it, the more it grows. The more you have belief that you have an ability to get stronger with work and with discipline and with effort, you can also do that with your willpower. Natalia says, I see that so many people misguide their kids so much when it comes to willpower. So true. In fact, in a lot of different ways, right? Children don't listen to us. They will watch us. They will watch our actions. And I change that. They do listen to us. We have to be very mindful with the words and the ideas and the beliefs that we place on our children. So I know for me personally, I speak about this quite a lot. My growing up are really formative years, right? Before we have this idea of our own independence and who we are in the world, we do rely on our elders, the figures that we look up to, revere, that may or may not be our parents. It could be our coaches, our dance teachers, our music teachers, people that we hold in high regard. And if they say to me or your child, you're just not motivated. As children, we don't question authority. So if we're told that enough, and we will believe it. So we want to be very mindful, of the words we use around our children, and when your children go to dance class, gymnastics, horse riding, football, soccer, whatever it is, you want to make sure that the coaches are also mindful of the words they use. So something I want us to think about. Every time we are reactive, like that hot or cold thinking, you say, do you act or do you react? Are you a fiery person? Is it like 0 to 100 degrees? You're like suddenly like, if you find yourself a very reactive person, again, no judgment, just noticing. Anything I talk about is just an invitation to consider. If it resonates with you, awesome. If it doesn't, just let it roll off you like water off a duck's back. But black or white thinking, if you tend to be someone that thinks I am fit or I'm not, I'm a good eater or I'm not a good eater, I have willpower or I don't have willpower. If I eat an apple in the morning, it means my day is going to be good. If I start the day with a donut, it means the rest of the day is going to go downhill. Black or white thinking. We magnify the bad and we minimize the good. We tend to do this, and then good or bad, this is good, that is bad. All of these snap decisions deplete our willpower. Every time I make a choice, do I go to my phone? Do I make my bed? Things that have not become habits yet, or they've become so ingrained and a part of our daily choices, texting, emails, social media, podcasting, some of it really positive, some of it can be very detrimental to our willpower, our motivation, and our ability to constantly keep moving, keep growing, keep taking information that help us not change who we are, but be the best Petra, Mary, Ken, Natalia, person who we are. That's all this is about, how we can keep growing and learning. There was really interesting research. So I don't know about you, I often think about willpower is, I will go to the gym. I will eat healthily. I will go for a walk. I will be a good person. I will live for a place of gratitude. We often think of the word will. There's also something called won't power. Roy Baumeister, he's one of the thought leaders when it comes to willpower. He did a social experiment quite a while ago now, and all the participants were going to be doing somewhat of a complex math calculation. And they knew that they were going to do, like in a few moments, they were going to do a math calculation and just see how fast they could do it. He split the group into two groups. And they were placed in a waiting room. And the first group, as they were in the waiting room, there was a bowl of radishes on the table. And then they sit with a bowl of radishes for 5 to 10 minutes, and then they're invited to go through and do the math equation. The second group was sitting in the waiting room, and they had candy and cookies and in front of them, and they were told, both groups are so, please don't eat this food because it's for the next group. So the radish group was in the waiting room, and they were told, please don't eat these radishes because the next group that's coming in to do the same equation is actually for them. And then the group with the cookies and the candy, they were also told, oh, by the way, do you mind not touching the cookie and the candy? Because that's for the next group before they go into do the math equation. So both groups were sitting in this waiting room for 5 minutes. One had radishes, one had cookies and candy. Which group do you think gave up faster if they couldn't do the math equation? Feel free to put it in the chat. Do you think it's harder to turn down radishes, unless you are a radish fiend, maybe it's your sweet spot, or do you think it's harder to turn down cookies and candy? And then based on that, who do you think gave up faster on the equation? It was the people who were sitting in that waiting room with the candy in front of them. Because it wasn't about willpower, it's also about, I won't eat the candy. So we're using our motivation and our discipline to stop ourselves from doing things that we want to do. So this is work by Kelly McGonigal, who's actually a good friend of mine. And she really wrote a fantastic book about willpower. And people that write about habits, there's James Clear, there's Charles Duhigg, and Kelly McGonigal is up there along with some of the best thought leaders around willpower. And she broke this down into 3 parts. And I don't know about you, I find this very, very helpful. Instead of looking at willpower as one thing, I'm going to invite you to think of it as 3 things. I won't power, I will power, I want power. So before I go into this a little more deeply, I want you to think about something right now that you really want. It could be called a goal. It could be your 90-day fit won't quit challenge, right? I want to get to the end of that. I've shown up for myself thus far. Or like, okay, got November, we're getting towards the end of 2022. I still have time to really tap into my potential and step into 2023. You know, not changing who you are, but really showing up each day, given with the day that is, right? Because today is different to yesterday. Tomorrow's going to be different today. There are no guarantees, but let's presume and hope that today is an ordinary day. It's an extraordinary, ordinary day. And I want to show up in this day as the best person I can. Not the perfect person, the best person. Think about, for yourself personally now, maybe grab a quick pen and paper, and I won't power, I will power, I want power. I won't eat the things that don't make me feel good, for an example. I won't jump onto my phone every time I feel like I'm bored. I will go for the walk every morning because it makes me feel really positive and alert and energized. I will play with my kids this evening because it's time that I have with them that I don't have during the day. Now I'm back to work in real time. This is the big one, I want more from my future self. I want my hopes and dreams for my future self more than I want, insert your Achilles heel. For me, what's my Achilles heel is chips and cheese. I'm a chips and cheese person. And I'm not saying they're bad. when eaten occasionally. But every day, if I eat those, they just don't make me feel great. It's not whether they're a good or bad food, they just they don't spark my mind up. What is that thing that you are prepared to say, I won't do this, I won't have that, I won't sit and binge watch Netflix for 4 hours. I will maybe watch Netflix for 30 minutes. And then, so again, it's not no good or bad. It's just being aware that we have more control over these micro moments than we think. But the one thing I really want you to think about next time you think about, I just don't know if I want to do this, or I really, what do you want more? What choice is in alignment with your best possible future self? Is this choice that right now that I'm going to make to choose to do or not do in alignment with what I want for my best possible future? Simply, every time we're faced with a choice, which does deplete our willpower, it's like a muscle. Every choice you make begins to deplete your willpower. But when we're feeling low on our willpower of the moment, when we can cast our future vision forward 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, and go, I want to grow into that person. And is this choice in this moment something my best possible future self would make? It actually helps. Willpower is like a muscle, though. It does get depleted. So we can plant small seeds over time. Small micro choices actually help us build our willpower. It's just like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And your belief in yourself and your ability to make really powerful choices that don't reveal overnight success. However, many small micro choices done consistently when no one else is looking. No one can see all the effort you're putting in to showing up to your best possible future until that constant effort suddenly has momentum and impetus. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, the overnight success, or he is so lucky, or she is so, no, you've put in the hard work and hard effort. And James Clear, again, one of my favorite authors right now, all big things, including your dreams, including your best possible future, not your perfect future, come from small beginnings. The seed of every habit is a single tiny decision. But as that decision is repeated, a habit sprouts and grows. Now, with that in mind, we can develop healthy habits, and we can also develop not so healthy habits. So those small micro decisions over time are going to either move you closer to being your best possible self or further away. It's like an airplane. We have a plane that takes off from LA and is headed to New York. It doesn't go in a straight line. It constantly course corrects. And if we can do that with our own life, just constantly course correct. Don't judge your habits, your choices as good or bad. It may, oh, that's interesting. I ate something that didn't make me feel so great today. And just learn from our past. Don't judge it. Don't drag the negative with us. But again, just remember, all big things, positive and negative, come from small beginnings. So what I'm going to do right now is share my screen with you. I practiced this before. We'll see how it goes. I want to share like a 3-minute video with you, and then we'll come back to this presentation. So I need to exit out of this. And this is where already I am, so you know, I am eating up a lot of willpower right now, because I'm already thinking, is this video going to work? Am I going to get it right? I remember how I did it. And all those little thoughts that we have is actually eating up my willpower. So let me see how this goes. I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to pull this up, and then hold on. Let me just do this. And then I'm going to act here like I'm not panicking, because I just got to move that out of the way. And I've got to share screen again. Boom. I think I got it. Hold on. Here we go. Share. Let me pull this back in. Now, in the chat, can you do me a massive favor? Can you just let me know if you see something that says the marshmallow test before I start playing it? Let me see. See the chat? Yes, thank you. All right, thumbs up. It's a good day. All right, I'm gonna go play this. It's like 3 minutes long, and I'm gonna keep this up. And when I play, hey, Julie, let me know if I'm gonna play this. And Lucia, if you could give me a thumbs up that it's playing. Here we go. And I want you to imagine that whatever the kids have in front of them, it's your phone, and it's turned down, and you've just had an alert that something came in. You don't know what it is, but that phone just went ding. Here we go.
Okay, sit in that chair. All right, here's the deal. Marshmallow for you. You can either wait, and I'll give you another one if you wait, or you can eat it now. When I come back, I'll give you another one, so then you'll have two. But stay in here and stay in the chair till I come back, okay? All right. All right, so I'm gonna leave and then I'll come back, okay? So you can either eat it right now or you can wait. Either way, okay? Okay. How'd you do? Did you do good? You did? Yeah. You wanted to eat it, didn't you? Yeah. So did I tell you to give you another one? Okay, now you can have both. You need them.
How cute is that? Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen again, but I wanna imagine that I just love that my sister is a redhead, and I just think of my sister every time I see that. Like, she didn't even wait for the teacher to leave before she started eating it. So let me share my screen again. Thank you for that. And that is part of our willpower. Okay, hold on, let me just share my screen again. Here we go. I'm so happy that worked. Advanced portion of screen. I'm gonna take my time here. Boom. There we go. So the interesting thing is, this, you may have heard of it, it's called the marshmallow test. And it was done a long, long time ago. And like I said, the children were given a marshmallow and they said, you can eat it. If you eat it now, fine. But if you wait 5 minutes, you get to have two. Think about all the time we hear the dings and like, oh, do I go to my phone or do I wait? Or, think about which one would you be? Which one? I know, right? So cute, Janie says. And that's the truth. But this is what happens in our life every day. It might not be a marshmallow, but it's do I do my emails first thing in the morning? Do I respond to that email that came in that was a little abrupt? And the interesting thing is, the children were followed throughout their years, and they were followed like 30 years later, and they found the children that had little willpower with that marshmallow had little willpower as they got older. They were less likely to make healthy choices. So again, this idea of wanting versus liking. I like this idea of don't exchange what you want most for what you want at the moment. So anytime you find yourself being a grown-up is hard. I'm sorry, being a grown-up is hard. And when you find those moments of just like, I just want to sit on the couch and have ding-dongs. If you're going to do that, do it joyfully and with abandon, and then know that is a conscious choice you're making. And I'm going to do it once, and that will be it. But what happens is we kind of go between do I, don't I, do I, don't I, should I, shall I, if this makes me a good person, this makes me a bad person, and it depletes us. And the thoughts we have about ourselves and our ability to have control over our life really impact how we show up for ourselves and for others. So ultimately, the only power to which man should aspire is that which he exercises over himself. So how can we show up as our best selves? And one of the best things I've heard ever, and you'll hear this quoted by a lot of thought leaders out there right now. One of my favorite, I think this is my favorite quote by James Clear. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So good, I have to read it twice. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. We fall to the level of our ability to focus and make positive choices for our life. So we are living our life versus scrolling and watching other people's highlight reel. So how can we handle and manage this thing called life and all the distractions that we have on our phone, on our television, everything around us, the conversations that impact us and inspire us and fill us up, and the conversations that also deplete us? Which one? Oh, I love that. Jill says she has that quote taped to her desk. Isn't it a good one? It is so powerful. It is not your goals. It's what we do daily. So when we can master our small daily micro moments, that's going to help us not live a life where at the end of our day we feel like this, but a life where we feel inspired to show up. And really, we're going to come back now to move this idea of willpower. How can I preserve my willpower so by the end of the day, I'm not exhausted, my mind is not exhausted, and I can still make good choices. Our willpower is like a muscle though, right? So at the beginning of the day, that's why number one tip for creating your most momentum in your day is, they say, eat the frog. What is that one thing that's really important to you that you keep putting at the bottom of your list, the bottom of your goals, because it's so meaningful to you? You're scared that it's not going to work out. So you say, okay, when I'm perfect, when I know this is going to work out, then I'm going to go for it. We have a question. So please put your questions, because I cannot see you. So please put your quote. Oh, put the quote on the screen again. All right, hold on. Let me put that quote on the screen again. One sec. Awesome. Let me just get rid of that. Okay, one sec. Can we get rid of this? Hold on. 1 second, I'm going to move this 1 second to get out of the way. So ask me if you could do a massive favor, put any quotes or questions, not in the Q&A right now, into the chat box, and I'll see them right away. So this is the quote I think you were talking about. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Hopefully that helps. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So powerful. So powerful. So with that, how can we make sure that we don't deplete ourselves of our willpower, and we have enough willpower to get to our goals that are really meaningful to us? Well, you may know, right? First thing in the morning, we actually do have more willpower, because guess what? We haven't made as many choices. We haven't been confronted as many times during the day. So by the end of the day, we have depleted a lot of our willpower. There are ways we can preserve it though. So my first invitation to you, habit number one, system number one, is to move whatever is important to you. Don't tell me you don't have time. You can make time to the top of your to-do list, because that is when you actually have the most willpower. You keep saying, oh, I'm going to get to this I'm going to get to the thing that really matters to me at the end of my day. When I've done the work, my busy work, you will never get to it. Get up. That sounded so bossy. I invite you to get up 15 minutes earlier each day, just 15, and spend those 15 minutes putting whatever it is that your big goal at the top of your list, and tackle that. Don't take the whole chunk at one go, like eating the marshmallow, but what is one little small micro action you can do first thing in the morning? That's why I love that. Face it and embrace it. Yes, it's not usually as bad as you think. The worst thing, the most terrifying thing, Janice, as we say, it's the thoughts about will it work out, won't it work out? But the one thought I want you to think about when we get to the end of our lives, will you look back and think, I wish I'd done that? The regrets, if only I had tried that. If only I had put this one goal, this one intention to the top of my to-do list. It's not whether it works out or not. It doesn't matter. It's who you become by trying. So thank you guys for being a part of this conversation today. Wherever you are, be all there. We're going to move now into a little bit of mindfulness, because at the end of the day, it is this moment and this moment and the next moment that allow us to build our best possible future. So when we talk about mindfulness, we are going to talk a little bit about meditation, but it's not even that. We're not even talking about sitting on a mat or on a yoga cushion. We're talking about how can we be more mindful through our day, so those moments when we pick up the phone is a choice versus a habit. We have become so habitual. I don't speak for everyone who is here, but when I look around, myself included, our phone has now become our third arm. I lived in New York, I'm now in California, and you'd walk in the street and this is literally in our hands. It's like a third arm. And the moment we're bored in the grocery line or in an elevator, we pick up our phone. And so it makes our mind is not designed to be constantly alert. So wherever you are, be all there. And if you want to go onto social media, nothing wrong in that, but be intentional about it. So when we talk about mindfulness in this context of willpower and motivation and habits and our best possible future, I want you to think of 4 little components. Being awake in your life, being awake, being fully awake versus watching from the sidelines and watching other people's lives on social media. Being present as much as you can. Again, this is like steady state training. This is interval training, right? It's not something you do in the moment. It's something you come and do it over and over again. And if you have a question, please, would you put it into the chat box? Because I have that open right now. I'll go to the Q&A at the end, but if you put it in the chat box, which is kind of over to the left side as you look at the screen of the Q&A, I'll see it right away and be happy to answer it for you. So it's about being away, being present. It's getting unstuck. Getting unstuck from what? From what just happened a second ago, from the email that you just listened to, from the text you were like, oh, from the voice message, from that person that cut you off in traffic. It's not taking your past into your present. And it's bringing an open heart, a fullness to your life where you go, you know what? I can do this. I can make a change. It might have not been easy in the past, but every single moment that I breathe in, I have the ability to make a choice and try something new and create a new conversation, a new story about myself. This is what we often see, right? Do you remember the old Verizon ad? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I think he's gone to a different carrier right now, but it is this idea that even in yoga class, I have seen this. I used to teach yoga. I know some of you here on the call teach yoga. Can I call you back, Ed? I'm in the moment here. I remember going into a yoga class and seeing people shoving their phone under the mat. Michelle or Michael, I apologize if I pronounced your name incorrectly. Yes, this is being recorded and this will be being sent out to you all. So yes, that is being recorded. Hopefully you're finding it helpful. My pleasure. So again, even how many times have we seen this, right? We're in a yoga class and someone's got their phone under the mat. Now, agreed, if you have kids, sometimes that's necessary, but most of us, it's not. So how can this help? The greatest tool you or I will ever have when it comes to our willpower, our motivation, our choices is our breath. Andrew Weil says, if I had to limit my advice on healthier living to just one tip, it'd be simply to learn how to breathe correctly. Make your breathing deeper, quieter, slower, and more regular. You are making your body function better, in turn, quieting your mind and harmonizing your nervous system. Yes, Bev says, I see this much in the bathrooms. Yep. Yes, we won't go into that, but yes, I hear it in the bathroom stall too. So we have two nervous systems, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. I'm not going to go into this in detail, but the sympathetic nervous system is that one that lights up. I am now working in my sympathetic nervous system because I'm talking to you. I'm energized. My sympathetic nervous system elevates slightly when we feel happy, energized, and engaged. Hopefully you're in that state too. It elevates dramatically though when we feel stressed, anxious, or nervous, or in demanding situations, that fight, flight, or freeze. Those moments when we are reactive, the hot or cold, the good or the bad, the black or white, when someone cuts us off in traffic, when we get that email, or we send out an email and we did reply all instead of just to the one person. So the interesting thing, right, is excitement and anxiety run on the same nervous system. So we need to be mindful of what thought is triggering this emotion of energy. Then we have the parasympathetic nervous system. Where is it? Did I put it here? The parasympathetic nervous system is where we rest and digest. It's where we kind of hang out when we are relaxed. And think of this as interval training. We're going to have most of the time, we want to kind of be in the rest and digest. And then there are going to be peak moments when we move into a more energetic and, enlivened state. And then we want to come back down again and rest and digest. The trouble is we tend to live in a similar situation. We're always waiting for the next thing that could go wrong. So we really want to kind of regulate this into our breathing. Janie says last minute in yoga with 28 students was on her phone. Okay, yes, not to use phones in my classes. It's a challenging one, right, Janie? So I think if we say, also let people know, I think when we talk about phones, I kind of go back to that for our children, right? They learn by watching us. It's this idea of like helping people, like, why do we want to give them a break from their phones? Like say, hey, this yoga class or this moment with me, and if we're in conversation, I'm giving you permission to not look at your phone because you're actually going to be much better able to deal with your social media, whatever the age group is that you're teaching. The next challenging thing that comes your way, you're going to be more peaceful, moving from a place of gratitude versus reactivity. So when we can create a space where we're giving them permission, and maybe you have a basket, like, hey, anyone that has the phone, please put it in the basket for 45 minutes and just simply notice. We could all use this as just a lesson in awareness. Notice if you don't have your phone for 45 minutes, how does that make you feel? Have you ever noticed when you've left your phone at home? Excuse me, like, oh my gosh, I don't have my phone. And then sometimes you need the phone to be able to contact your family. I understand that. But most of the time it's like, oh, what am I going to miss on social media? Is everyone going to miss me? So just simply noticing and being aware. Perfect. Yes, Julie. Yeah, Dr. Weil's breathing techniques, they're so helpful. And there's so many great techniques out there. And we'll do one together before we go that you can use to just kind of down-regulate. It's really easy. It's not complicated. A minute or less, and you actually can help yourself move out of that anxious state into more of a tender befriend. And we'll do that before we leave together. I like this. Anne Lamott is one of my favorite authors. My mind is like a bad neighborhood. I try not to go there alone. Hence why so many of us pick up our phones, because gosh forbid, I'm actually alone with my thoughts. But the greatest gift we can give to ourselves is to be here now, in the joyful moments, in the challenging moments. And mindfulness helps us in so many ways. This is another thing. When we are more mindful, we are more focused in our day-to-day moments. And I believe one of the superpowers of the future is not how clever you are, not how smart you are, not which university you went to, your ability, my ability to focus. When we can go deep into focus and be in flow and keep our attention on something for 30 minutes, you're going to be wanted for any single job. Our superpower will be our ability to focus. When we are more mindful, it helps us manage our fear, our anxiety. When we are mindful, it helps us increase our resiliency, our ability to bounce back from challenging times. When we are more mindful, it reduces our stress. It improves our sleep, and it assists with willpower. When we are more mindful, it allows us to notice which voice we're going to pay attention to. Charles Newcomb says there are always two voices sounding in our ears, the voice of fear and the voice of confidence. One is the clamor of the senses, the other is the whispering of the higher self. And when we are present, we can get to choose to listen to the whisper of the higher self versus the clamoring of all the things around us. So, simple reflection. Before we get onto our phone, before we send an email, before we send a call, before we respond to something, ask myself, am I awake now? Am I awake? Am I acting on this situation, or am I reacting to someone else's laundry list of challenges and problems? There's a big power of the pause. 2 seconds. To just notice and go, am I acting in my best possible self? Am I making a choice that my future self will be proud of? Or am I reacting to someone else's reactivity? We pause and we bring mindfulness to each situation, which in turn depletes our willpower less. Just breathe. Sounds so simple, but is so important. We're going to end with this in a moment. So before we go to a breathing technique that we can all use anytime we are in that fight or flight, that sympathetic nervous system, which always sounds so confusing to me. When I was learning this, I always had to think about it because sympathetic feels like it's very relaxing. But anyway, want to reside in the other system most of the time. And they both run parallel. It's not one is good, one is bad, but how can we tap into the nervous system that helps us live in the moment and be our best possible self? So we're going to come to that in a moment. So as we talk about creating our habits, here are some things we can do first thing in the morning that just help us bring awareness to our state of mind, our state of being. First thing I want us to all consider is, what do you use for an alarm clock? Right now, I'll be honest, I am using this thing called my phone because I'm staying at a friend's house. I'm going to overshare with you, but I just moved to LA and I don't have my own alarm clock yet. But normally I do not sleep with my phone in my bedroom. It's just one less decision I have to make. But think about this in the morning. Just reflect, not saying it's good or bad. However, just to bring an awareness to this. If my alarm clock is on my phone, I pick up my phone and I turn my alarm off. My willpower is full. My willpower well is full. And now, before I've even gotten out of bed, I have a choice to make. And remember, each time you make a choice, what happens? Every single time we make a choice, our willpower well kind of goes down ever so slightly. We don't notice it. We don't notice when our willpower is going down, but we can feel it. Your willpower is depleted. Those moments you feel like kind of cranky, like, oh my gosh, I'm really short-tempered, I'm not sure why. Your willpower level is at 0. So just be aware of that. But let's say I get up, not judging, just noticing, oh, this is my phone. I've turned off my alarm clock before I even get out of bed, before I even do my to-do list. And at the top, right, we've got the thing that's most meaningful to us. We've 15 minutes. Now I'm getting up 15 minutes early. I have a choice. Do I put the phone down and get out of bed? Or do I check my emails? Do I scroll social media? Do I look at the news? It's a choice. But if my phone is just simply an alarm clock, I turn it off. I still do have a choice. As Mel Robbins says, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up. Because then we have the other choice. Do I hit the snooze button? Do I get up? Do I not get up? Already we're depleting our willpower before we even get out of bed. So let's say we've actually gotten out of bed. I'm going to give you 3 things you can do. Pick one of them. And instead of making it a routine, I want you to turn it into a ritual. Let me change the language. I invite you to turn it into a ritual. Pick one of these. Making your bed in the morning, because we all know the most successful people always make their bed. Making your cup of coffee or a cup of tea or your shake in the morning, or brushing your teeth. Pick one of those. Or I give you a 4th one, having a shower. But let's come to brushing the teeth because that's such a cute picture. So pick one thing that hopefully all of us do. We hopefully brush our teeth. We hopefully take a shower. Maybe you make a coffee or a cup of tea or a shake, and hopefully we make our bed. No judgment. Pick something that you consider a morning routine. And I invite you to turn it into a morning ritual. And instead of brushing your teeth and thinking about everything you got to do today, or taking a shower and think about the laundry list, oh my gosh, I got to do this, and I'm doing carpool, I've got to do laundry today, or making the bed, I'm just making the bed, oh, I hate making the bed. Pick something you do every morning and make it a mindfulness ritual. When you're brushing your teeth, notice that you're brushing it. Just simply see if you can come back to being present. Yes, always make the bed first. So when you make the bed, instead of letting your mind wander, notice how many times you have to pull your mind back to simply making the bed. Wherever you are, be all there. Whether you're brushing your teeth, come back to the moment over and over again. Wherever you are, be all there. Because your breath is your anchor to the present moment. Your breath is the anchor to the present moment. So before we go to the last slide, let me just check the Q&A. I see a couple of there. Open, recording. Oh, someone is asking about what relationships do caffeine, pre-workout, and other stimulants have with willpower. I actually don't know. To be quite honest, I am not an expert in nutrition. So I don't know about that. It's a great question. I actually don't know the answer to that. So this is more like our own organic mind power, willpower. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not an expert on that. I mean, we have that idea, right, of heightened alertness, but I don't know if there's been any research done on that. Great question. I don't know the answer. But if anyone does, send it into YouFit and we will get it out there on social for sure. So as we go into the last part of our day, it's this idea of, but great question, thank you for that. This idea of do all that you can with all that you have, in the time that you have, in the place where you are. Isn't that a lovely invitation? Do all that you can with all that you have, in the time that you have, in the place where you are. So with that, I invite you, if you wish, in our last few moments together, whether live or on the replay, take a hand and maybe place it on your chest, one hand on your belly, and just simply notice. Simply notice if your hand on your upper chest is kind of moving more, like it's not actually physically moving, but your chest, if you're breathing from your chest, or can you see if you can slow down your breathing or deepen your breathing, where your belly, relax your breath, because we also tend to walk around with our belly so tight and clenched, and unclench your butt cheeks too. Yes, I did say the word butt cheeks. Unclench your butt cheeks and unclench your belly, because we walk around so tight all day. Just relax everything. And see if you can begin to kind of deepen your belly so your belly begins to have a little bit more motion to it. But don't overthink about it. If that doesn't feel right to you right now, don't even worry about it. But what I would like you to do is breathe in and breathe out. And I'm going to count right now. I'm going to count 4 in and 4 out, and just see if you can match my breath, my counts. Don't worry about it. or find your own rhythm if that feels better. But together, just for four repeats, we're going to breathe in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. And now, for the next 4 breaths, I'm going to invite you to make the inhale the same, and we're going to make the exhale a little longer. So I'm going to say inhale for 4, exhale for 6. Are you ready? We'll do it 3 times. So we're running out of time, okay? So you're going to breathe in for 4 and exhale for 6. Here we go. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now just let it go and go back to your normal breathing. One of the greatest gifts we can give to ourselves in terms of willpower, mindfulness, habits, making a good choice that's in alignment with our best possible future, is when you feel yourself becoming reactive, is to slow down your breath and for 1 minute, make the exhale a little longer than the inhale. Make the exhale a little longer than the inhale. Simply, but not so simple, lengthening our exhale moves our nervous system out of that fight or flight into the tend and befriend. And it's from that place and that moment and the next moment, those small micro moments build to small habits that move into a beautiful, magnificent, best possible future that you can create. So with that, I want to say thank you so much for the gift of your time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being so interactive. You will get the recording. I so appreciate you all for your time, for your energy, for your enthusiasm. And again, remember, each moment begins with this moment. I hope you have a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and step into the most beautiful life that you create. Remember, do all that you can with all that you have, in the time that you have, in the place where you are. Thank you so very much. Have a beautiful day.